one thing to say right now. How about those Chiefs? How about those Chiefs? Super Bowl champs. How about my man, Big Red? How about Andy Reid? Super Bowl champion, Andy Reid. My man was feeling it, and as you might expect, he was dropping zingers this AM. I did not spend it with the trophy. Well, actually, I did. I spent it with my trophy wife. My man gets some. And apparently he did. Man, I love this guy. Everybody loves this guy. Like, one of the more bizarre storylines of the past 2 weeks was whether or not Andy Reid needed to win a Super Bowl to get into the Hall of Fame. And my response to that is, hell no. Hell no, he didn't. Yeah, right. Right, because they were going to keep a guy out of the Hall of Fame with more than 220 career wins, with one of the most amazing coaching trees ever. Sure, they weren't, but now it's not even a conversation, luckily, because of what he did and what they did last night. More specifically, because of what they did in the fourth quarter when they were down double digits in the Super Bowl. Only to rip off 3 TDs in just over 5 minutes and stun San Francisco and rip that game from the Niners. A 50-year wait for Kansas City and more than a 20-year grind for Andy Reid, and it's finally over. They're champions. Nobody can take that from them, and they earned every last bit of it. Listen, KC is explosive as hell. We know this. They've got a ton of talent and speed. We know that. They've got the most dangerous player in the game in Patrick Mahomes, which I will get to in a second, but we know that. The thing about this team, the thing about this crew, they're tough as hell. They're resilient. They bounce back. They're never out of any game. Down double digits in every game in the postseason, and they won every single time. Sure, it's living dangerously, and it'll come back to bite you in the ass unless you're the Chiefs. Unless you've got Pat Mahomes under center, then they just keep coming. They just keep coming at you. You've got to be damn near perfect for 60 full minutes against these guys to beat these guys. You've got to kill these guys to beat these guys, and nobody could do it in the postseason. Kansas City was down with just over 7 minutes left, and they were in that spot because the guy who never has a bad game, Pat Mahomes, was having a terrible game, at least by his standards. And my man picked an absolutely terrible time to play one of his worst games. But the first one was a truly terrible pass and an even worse decision. That was his first game with 2 picks since November of 2018. And yes, San Francisco's defense was causing him problems. They were getting pressure on him with 4. They were dropping 7. He was off. He was not taking shots downfield. He was not getting out of the pocket and wreaking havoc with his legs. He was not Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't right, and neither was that KC offense. And at that point, you could already see the headlines. In fact, the headlines were writing themselves at that point. And they were all going to be about Mahomes, blowing it for KC, the guy who never has a bad game, having an awful game when it mattered most. And, of course, the rest of the heat was going to come down on Big Red, that Andy Reid could not win the big one, that Andy Reid was not a Hall of Famer. But if you know Pat Mahomes, you should have known this one was not over, even down 10 late. You should have known that with Mahomes, it's never, ever over because this guy never gives in. Hell, this guy's kneecap was down somewhere around his ankle during a game earlier this season, and he tried to come back on the field, like in the same series. Hell no, this guy doesn't blink. He doesn't care how many plays he's missed on. He knew one big play would put them right back in it. Now, personally coming in, here's my thought process. I thought the Niners would win a really tight game. I just felt top to bottom, the Niners were the better team. I mean, full disclosure, I thought top to bottom, they were more balanced. I thought they were the better team. But my biggest concern, obviously, was Pat and the fact that there was no way that Pat was going to let them lose. And in the end, he wouldn't. But not before there was even more trouble. Mahomes hits Tyreek Hill for 16 yards on a second down, except it was overturned on review because Hill trapped it. Even that throw was not a good throw from Mahomes. Now they're looking at 3rd and 15 from their own 35. And here comes the play that's going to go down in history. 2-3, jet, chip, wasp. Legend now has it that Mahomes wanted that play, and he got it. Hung in the pocket long enough to hit a wide open hill. Look, I'm not going to say that's the ball game right there, because KC still had a lot of work to do, but if they don't hit that, it's the ball game right there for them, because they're looking at punting and being down 2 scores, and then San Francisco just eating clock. Instead, they cap off that drive with a Travis Kelce TD, and that makes it 2017. Then they force a quick 3 and out. It only takes 63 seconds. Then it was on. The next drive goes like this. A completion for 5 yards, a completion for 9 yards, a completion for 3 yards, a completion for 38 yards. Mahomes runs for 6, sacked for -1, and then on 3rd down, big-time reach by Damian Williams. Man, might be a pretty good time to put some respect on his name. That guy runs so hard, plays hard. I love his game. He finds a way into the end zone. If San Francisco keeps them out on 3rd down, KC probably takes that field goal. Then we're looking at a tie game instead of them being up by 4, of course. And for the record on that drive, Mahomes was a perfect 5 for 5 for 60 yards and a TD. And he rushed for 5 yards. See, that's the amazing thing about this guy. He can play terribly, or at least what counts as terribly by his standards, for 50 minutes and then win you a Super Bowl in 10 minutes. Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate eraser. This is why he's the best player in football. Yeah, I said it. He won't admit it, but he is the best player in football. Yes, Lamar Jackson is your MVP, but Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football, the most dangerous player in football, and very well could be for the next decade plus. Think about this. He's been a starter for 2 years. He's already got a league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP, and he's just getting started. This guy's not going to be 25 until September. He's better this year than he was last year. I'm going to argue, numbers aside, he's much better this year than he was last year, and he's going to be even better next year than he was this year, because it's not all about that crazy rocket arm or the different arm slots or the no-look passes. It's not even about his ability to hurt you with his feet now. It's about this guy's head. It's about this guy's heart. It's about this guy's brain. It's about this guy's toughness. Because this guy was taking hits last night. This guy couldn't find any rhythm at all and just kept rolling. You know, one more thing, too, about him taking hits. You know, as a quarterback, you want to be smart. You want to get down. But let me tell you about this guy. I mean, you wouldn't think so by looking at him necessarily. My man is way more of a load than he would appear. Dudes are bouncing off him, and in some cases, he was giving almost as good as he gets. This guy's toughness, physically and mentally, are off the charts. And you combine that with one of the sickest skill sets ever, you're not coming off the field a loser very often. And definitely not on the biggest stage.